So let's move in. I'm going to create a new project here. I'm going to create a new project and start from scratch. And I'm going to just create a small little warehouse structure that we can have a look at, analyze, and see how we actually want to design the columns and beams for it as well, which is the focus of today's webinar. So let's create a new project. I can, of course, add a name to it and also the description. We can accept these changes. Now, the program will ask me if I want to import a BIM model. Now, if I'm, for instance, working with an architect and he has and I have an architectural model, I can import that if I already have it on the BIMserver.center. So I can model my own structural, and this is the real beauty of it. I can bring in my architectural model and use that as a plan for my structural model as well that I can have a look at. But for instance, I don't actually have a project here. I'm going to start off just by complete scratch. So I'm going to click No. And you can see here the different types of options that are given to start a project. You can see here, I can import a job from Cype 3D. So if I have a castellated metallic, if I have a metallic structure, and I want to, of course, expand on that metallic structure and bring it into Cype 3D for our concrete reinforcement structures and elements that I can add on to that Cype 3D model. I can do that, so I can import it from Cype 3D. I can introduce a drawing file. Now, upon introducing that DXF or DWG file, the program will automatically introduce some elements that it can recognize from that DXF and DWG file. So it's quite a nifty tool to fast track that process. And then, of course, I can introduce an IFC file. So if I already have a native IFC file, I can just bring that in and automatically introduce some values as well, and also some automatic introduction of DXF and IFC files as well. But basically, you can see here the three options for starting a project. We can bring in an IFC file, we can bring in DXF and DWG files, or a Cype 3D project. But for now, we're going to create an empty project. This is basically just because we don't have too much time here to look at the specific input of different elements on drawings, etc., etc. So I'm just going to create a new project. So an empty project, let's accept this change. And here we get to the general data section. So before we get started, you can see here that I have some options. So these options basically come back to the sort of rules, regulations, and also categories that we want to employ within our model. So let's have a look initially by selecting of codes. So you can see here, Cype has implemented a wide variety of codes from all around the world. So we're talking about European, American, EU codes, Singapore, from all the way around the world, and of course for the different type of element as well, so material as well. So concrete, cold form steel, rolled steel, timber, aluminium as well. We have some from the Euro code. And so basically, you as the user are given the options to select the type of codes, and then of course, in turn, the all those set materials from those specific codes get imported as well into your workflow. So you can, of course, you keep on using the types of materials and structures that you've been using the whole time. So you don't need to. There's no difficulty there. Now I'm going to stick with the Euro code. Let's accept. Once we've selected those codes, you can see all the different types of reinforcement concrete and steel that I'm able to insert before starting. So I can have a look at the different types here of foundations, columns, walls. I can of course look at materials as well. So different types of materials for my walls. Design options as well for particular sections here. Aggregate properties I can go into, I can also look at the types of bars, so steel and steel bars and steel bolts that I can edit as well. So all my base plate options as well. And then of course we get into the load section. So this is where I can of course insert specific wind loads that you can see here, that we have a wide variety of different countries here, and I'm able to select the type of the type of consideration that I want for my particular section. Seismic loading as well, so same sort of deal with seismic loading. I can insert some load cases for seismic loading. You can see here, and all these come from the specific code that has been selected for that country as well. So you can see here the US has multiple different codes that I'm able to select. Fire resistance checks as well, limit state combinations that I'm able to insert, and also some additional combinations. Then I can also look at the sections for my different materials. So my steel sections, cold form steel sections, timber sections that I'm able to view here. You can see here as well, extruded aluminium, and also finally for some effective length factors that I'm able to view. Now, of course, I can also insert some different libraries that I have. So for instance, my concrete library that I'm able to import if I have a library of different concrete materials, as you can see here, with their specific reference that I'm able to import and use within my project as well. So it's quite nifty in terms of setting out the type of roadmap that we want to use, the type of settings, even before we start the project. Antonius asked, can we upload directly from CYPECAD to BIM? I mean, now, yes, of course. So now, as I said before, if you have that IFC file, you can import that into CYPECAD as well. So if you have a native IFC file, of course, yeah, you can bring it in, Antonius. I hope that answered your question. Now, someone is saying my voice is not. Okay, perfect. So let's accept. You can see here the type of information that it gives me. I have some limit states that I'm able to insert prior, and also I'm going to leave those as is. And here you can see we're gridded with the home page here. Now, what I wanted to see before was what I wanted to do prior to starting was just create a sort of simple structure, and then we can look at some different options that we have for our concrete, for our columns and beams as well. Now, guys, if there are some specific questions that you guys have, so I'm looking at right now, there are some specific questions that are there. I need to actually to address those questions, I need to actually see the sort of errors that you guys are getting. So it's quite difficult for me to address a very specific question in terms of looking at the sort of errors you guys are getting. Now, I'm going to try my best to go through those questions at the end, but if not, there is I can of course connect you guys with our customer service team that can actually look at specific problems and address those for you. In this webinar, it's a very short webinar, so I can't go into specifics. I do apologize for that, but the help is there for those specific questions. Now, if you had any overall questions, some overview questions about the sort of workflow, the way we like to do things here, then I'll be more than happy to address those. But again, for these specific types of questions, looking at different types of IPE beams, we're going to I'm going to try and do those at the end, not instantaneously. So let's get started. You can see here the workflow we have: column definition, beam definition, results, contour maps to form shape, and health and safety. So this is the sort of progressive way that we actually have to move through generating a structural model in CYPECAD. So let's have a look. I'm going to create some different floors and groups before we start. Let's create a single floor group. Let's create 2. Second floor will be 3 meters, 3 meters, and let's just introduce some live loads and dead load as such. Well, let's actually do 3. Why not? Perfect. So I can accept those. So upon doing that, I've introduced my different floors. Now I can obviously look at creating and introducing some columns. Now, how we would insert a new column is go into introduction, column shear walls and starts, and I'm able to insert a new column here. So upon clicking here, you can see this is the home page of the new column addition. So what can we do here? Now, we can add a reference to the column initially. We can state the initial group and final group of the column. So, for instance, if we had columns starting from the second floor and going up to the top, I would move on to just to floor 1, and you can see here that the diagram here represents the arrangement that I'm making for my column. So this is where we get into more complicated structures that need starts or columns from different levels as well. But of course, I'm going to leave it here as the foundation to my top floor. I can introduce angles to columns as well. So if I had different angles that I'm able to introduce as well, and we'll be able to see that in the view here. I can insert external fixities. So if I had different types of already existing footings or pile caps, I'm able to insert with that external fixity, and then I'd be able to define the type of external fixity and the arrangement as well. Let's go without external fixity. And then of course we have the different options as well for our columns. So effective length factors, I can have a look at the X and Y buckling parameters here that I'm able to view. Fixity coefficients again as well. So from head and base X and Y, and I'm able to view the type of coefficient here at the bottom as well. So by introducing those fixities before I introduce the column makes life quite easy. Actual stiffness coefficients as well. So you can see here, I'm able to introduce some coefficients for the type, the specific section of that column, the different covers that I can introduce at that column, and some concrete resistance as well. So if I already had some pre-existing concrete resistance, I'm able to view and amend those here as well by providing those units. So that would be for the different types of settings that we want for that particular section. So Lim has asked, when do we use external fixities? So there are a multitude of different scenarios where you would use an external fixity. Now, if you already had an existing support that you would need to fix this particular column to, that's when you would use an external fixity, because it is an external fixity. You're fixing a new column to an already existing slab or support structure as well. So I hope that answers your question, Lim. Then we move on to the design of this particular column. So for instance, we can come over here. You can see here next to the selected floor, I'm able to click this particular icon, this rectangular icon, and this is where it would move me to the type of section selection panel that I'm able to do, that I'm able to choose. So you can see here prior, we have reinforcement concrete, just a steel section, timber, reinforcement or composite section, and also some generic sections that I'm able to introduce if I wanted to. Now, what we can do here, upon selecting the type, I can select the shape. I can, of course, select from rectangular to circular, and I'm able to amend those dimensions in the X and Y section here. Or, of course, the diameter, if I select a circle, but also I'm able to create my own section. So by coming over here to the generic section, I'm able to see the types of generic sections that I've saved prior. You can see that I don't have any prior. So I come over here to create a new one. And so this opens up my sections library, and I'm able to basically start playing around with different sections to my liking. So I'm able to look at different vertices, openings within the section as well. And of course, if I have those DXF files, I'm able to use the snap options to snap onto those drawing files so that I can get exactly the correct design for that particular column section. Now, I'm not going to go into creating a fancy generic section. What I'm going to do is just look at a rectangular section, but it's going to be a square, so 30 by 30. Now, of course, you can see here the different material selections as well. So if we're going with the steel section, you can see here that the section series and the type of section, the type of section will be made available to me. So from that specific code. So of course the Euro code, I'm able to select the type of IPE sections and also all the others that are present in that particular Euro code. Now you can see as well with my steel section, I'm able to select a rolled steel section, hollow core, and also cold form steel sections as well. Now upon selecting those, you can see the different libraries of those particular sections that become apparent to me here. So you can see here, I can come over here to a rolled section. I can look at the type of section, so the shape of that section as well. Of course, if I'm not happy with that, I can of course create my own section here. So I can create a particular section if I wanted to, assign the different properties to it, and I'll be able to use that in my design as well. And then of course I can look at the type of layout for that section. So I can insert a concrete slab with the introduction of that bar, double welded inbox, double inbox with batten plates, half sections, lateral plates, castellated also edges as well that I can have a look at for those particular sections. Or if I wanted to, just a simple section. And of course this moves on to timber as well as all the others as well. Now for this particular section, I'm going to create a composite section with reinforcement, and you can see here that I'm able to select the type of section that I want for my steel section inside my concrete section. So you can see here all the different types as well that I'm able to look at, and each type has a particular section series that I'm able to add again. So if I wanted to demonstrate the type of flexibility, I'm able to within the program as well. So let's have a look. Let's create a steel section here, just by getting the most simplest section here. So you can see here that I've already changed my value here. So you can see that particular icon has changed throughout me changing it just like that. Again, by clicking it, I can see that I've selected a rolled steel section with a rolled I section as well. So I can again do that to my other one as well. That I'm able to select here. Of course, I can select whether this particular section of that column is a transposed steel section just by selecting yes or no onto this text box here. And then, of course, I can accept these changes. Now, what I'm going to do now is just create a little simple structure here. So just by coming over here, I can insert it, and also doing it here if I wanted to, here as well, and also here. Let's do it further down the line as well. So as such, you can see that I've created 6 different columns here. So moving on, so we've got those columns inserted. You can see here as well, I have all the different types of editing functions that I was able to do prior here as well. So upon selecting down the drag box, you can see here I can modify the angle of particular columns, initial and final groups of that particular column, external fixity, fixity coefficients, all those things that we mentioned before are easily accessible on the left-hand side here that I'm able to look at. I can also introduce head loads as well for my starts as well. Now let's move on. Let's go into beam definition. And you can see here that my beams get defined here quite nicely. So I can come over here into foundations. I'll go down a level. You can see here that I can select the specific level that I want to amend. So this is my floor level. I can come into foundation. Oh wait, 1 second. I think I did it incorrectly. So let's go back. Let's go to introduce column steels. Let's delete these. New column. Oh, I selected the wrong type. Let's just go for a single concrete section. A reinforced concrete section. So as you can see, I'm not actually being too specific with my arrangement or anything like that. I just want to get just get this example. You can see here, upon inserting those columns, I come over here to beam definition again. And you can see here those columns again get transposed into my beam definition tab. So I'm actually moving along the line just by selecting my columns in the first tab. So I can come over here to foundations, go down into foundations. Let's see if this works, because usually I would select without external fixity and then introduce the fixity after. But let's have a look. If I introduce with external fixity, go into beam definition. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so I would have to select external fixity before and then introduce it as well. So coming over here to foundation, I can now generate some footings and beams if I wanted to. So I can come over here to generate. I can change the division distance. And you can see here that the footings get generated automatically as well. Thanks for that, guys. Now, upon selecting those, you can see here, I can also introduce some strap and tie beams as well for my foundations. So I can come over here to define the beam. I can introduce a tie, strap beam, or a mixture of both. I can select just a tie beam for now. You can see here the type of tie beams that come straight from the Eurocode. I'm able to select here and also start inserting them. So here you can see, I'll insert this one here. As such. So that would be my foundation done as such. So I now move up a level and now introduce my my beams. So this is where we come into the beam selection here. So by clicking define beam, you can see here that I'm able to view the wide variety and the types of family that our beams belong to. So you can see flat beams, drop beams, lattice beams, composite beams, beams for beams that have a slab inserted with them, and also timber beams. We can also introduce non-structural or limit beams as well here. So for this, what I'm going to just do is select a drop beam, and you can see here that particular family of drop beams has a selection, has a multitude of different types as well. So you can see here as well a drop T-beam with embedded flanges and inverted embedded flanges, inverted T-beams, etc., etc., and the list goes on. You can see here, just by selecting this inverted rectangular beam, I'm able to again insert and specify the width and depth of these particular beams as well. So let's accept this change here and start inserting my beams here. As you can see here now, the program realizes that there are some panels that need to be inserted here. So I can come over here to my slabs, my panel manager, and I'm able to define a specific panel. And so now this isn't about the sort of panels, but you can see all the different types of panels as well. I'm going to select just a flat slab and do it to the particular codes. Moving up, I can introduce some beams again. And moving on to, again, the panel manager. And finally, for our last level, for our top level, sorry, we can have a look at the Now, if I wanted to, I can come over here to Panel Manager again and define the top slab. And you can see here by coming over to the 3D view, you can see that my columns and beams have been inserted, and I'm able to view those in the 3D viewer as such here. Now we can. Lee has asked whether we can copy these beams. You can see here. By coming over here as well, we can go into and we can copy them from different levels as well from here as well. So you can see here coming over to groups, I can copy from another group. So I can come over here, select the type of the specific group that I want to copy it from, and I'll be able to do that as well. Now let's have a go at. So once we've done the sort of basis that we need to do to create a 3D structure, a 3D structure, we can have a look at analyzing it. And this is where the real power and freedom comes into our beams and column definition, also troubleshooting and looking at the different errors that we get against the code, and also some smart design features that we have embedded into the software. You can see here, so this is my foundation, and I've just basically moved up with my columns and also introduced some beams for each level as I go up. So let's go here into analyze, and we can analyze the project. Now, this shouldn't take a while because the structure is quite simple. But then again, we have the different. Once you get into more complex structures, looking at angles within columns, etc., this can take a while. But again, just because we're running, we didn't have a lot of time. I've just opted to create a very simple structure. let's see. So we have some results here. Okay, let's just quickly see. Okay, so it's analyzed and sort of crashed. I don't exactly know what's just happened, but let's just have a look. This is after analysis. You can see all the errors that are present. Now, of course, I didn't actually look at the different loads and different types of sections that I've inserted. You can see I have inserted quite small sections, and you can see before I introduced 2 kilonewton live and dead loads as well. So, but basically what I just want to mention, and the point of all this is to look at how we can edit these columns and beams as well. So coming into here, column and shear walls, I can edit. Let's go into this particular column into, oh, 1 second. So into this beam, sorry. So edit beams, I can come over here. And this is the section in the program that we can actually look at what's actually gone wrong in this particular beam and look at ways in which we can support it. So, for instance, we have our reinforcement area here. So you can see here, you can see the different area by position graph I have for the required top reinforcement area, and also the required bottom reinforcement area, and also looking at how the total area and the behavior of this particular beam behaves in relation to the reinforcement that's needed. Now, of course, we have our ULS and SLS checks at the worst point that we can view. So you can see here, I can come over here and look at all the different errors. I can, of course, find these errors at a certain point. So if I had particular sections, I can move about and find specific locations for that joint. Of course, you can see I have some specifications that I'm able to do. I can view my moment, my vertical and horizontal forces inside the editing of this beam as well. Also looking at the different combinations and envelope load specifications that I have that I've set as well. I can view here as well, and also looking at some bending moment diagrams that I can view inside the program as well. I can also look at the addition of reinforcements as well. So I can introduce assembly reinforcements, additional reinforcements, and skin reinforcements as well into the structure here. So let's just quickly have a look here. Okay, perfect. So the analysis has been conducted. Sorry about that, guys. Just had a technical difficulty there that I hadn't seen before. So coming over here to what I wanted to see was the results here. So coming over here, you can see all the errors that are present. I'm coming over here to column shear walls and have a look at editing, and you can see here the editing, the type of editing that I can do for my columns. So you can see as well the grid as well. So the different types of reinforcements in my corners, longitudinal reinforcements I'm able to edit as well. My stirrups, spacings between reinforcement as well, and also whether this particular section of that column failed or passed, and I can view that here as well. Now, upon selecting the type of bay and group view here, I'm able to look at the plan view of that particular column and make changes corresponding to them as well. I can also look at the checks that have been done here, the percentage use and why a certain column has failed the check, the different load combinations as well present on that particular column, and some values. So my worst case forces here as well. So my moment in the X and Y directions, and my different values as well. I'm also able to look at a equilibrium diagram for the particular column, and I'm able to see at exactly what level that my column failed in that section as well. I can of course look at some code checks as well. So for instance, I can view only the checks that have failed and look at where, and I can get a detailed report of the failures. So corresponding to the particular code, and again, corresponding to the zone. So my foundation, you can see here, all the different zones that I've had errors in. I'm able to view those and also look at a sample, a direct takeout from the code as to what I need to do to amend this particular failure. So I can again view the complete listing as well here, and you can see that I'm able to get a report on all the particular errors that are present in my calculation. So you can see all the checks that were done on column P7. I can view the checks that passed, view the checks that didn't pass. So my ultimate shear resistance didn't pass. So I'd have to go back and amend the sizing or the level of reinforcement there. And you can see here these reports. Now, of course, I know that a lot of these checks have failed here, but I'm able to, of course, share, export, and print these reports instantaneously. So I can share in PDF format if I wanted to. Export, so I can export the this particular report to different formats as well. So PDF, doc files. Again, of course, I can look at making those a part of the BIMserver.center. So again, if I wanted to share these particular reports with my client, with my stakeholders, my project stakeholders, I'd be able to look at those as well. Now, let's close this and have a look again at some detailing as well. So if I wanted to look at the detailing of particular columns, I'm able to view those as well here. So here you can see I get a complete detailing of the particular selected column that I have here. So my reinforcement, position and diameter of reinforcement, and total lengths as well. I'm also able to again view these and again print and do what I please with them as well. I can also look at a 3D view of my particular column that has the reinforcement and all my other components specified within them. So I'm able to view this as well quite nicely, and I can actually view it in 3D. I can also look at the forces corresponding to the column. So here you can see I'm able to view the wide range of forces, so my X and Y values, my moments in the X and Y direction as well. And I can have a look at the combinations as well, not just the specific load cases that I've inserted previously as well. Now, if I wanted to as well, I can toggle on and off the selections here that I'm able to view, and we'll be able to get a better understanding about the section. Again, I can look at the column schedule as well. So here, upon clicking up top here, edit in column schedule, I'm able to view the schedule as it is. And then, of course, I can make those specific changes as well inside this tab as well. I can look at the editing of different geometry as well inside the structure. And I'd be able to view those for each particular column as well here as well. So as well, inside the column schedule, I'm able to look at the editing of longitudinal and transverse reinforcement inside here, just by clicking over here into edit. I can insert some splices and anchorages and some densification zones for my reinforcements as well. So let's go back into edit table. You can see here as well, I'm able to look at the type of combination and also the longitudinal dissection of that column as well. So that's a little bit about the column section here. Let's go into the beams again. So we can have a look just by selecting a certain beam. And I basically go into a similar type of window where I look at my beams and why particular sections have failed. I'm able to view the ultimate limit state and service limit state at the worst point, and you can see here as well. I can click on it and I can get a value. So let's go into a certain point. As such, again, I mentioned before, those longitudinal and transverse reinforcements I'm able to edit here as well for my beams. I can look at the force diagrams as well. I can turn on and off certain forces, and you can see here that'll be translated into this group view as well. So again, I have my dead, live loads, and active loads, and I'm able to select on and off the visibility, the characteristics. So whether it's whether if the combinations are characteristic, frequent, or quasi-permanent. Again, my specifications, and then of course I have some options for my configurations. So being able to offset the bending moment diagrams, provide the distances of all points with 0 moments, I'm able to look at, and you can see that those points get translated here as well. Now, again, what I wanted to see was the worst point scenario. I'm able to look at particular sections. I'm able to consult those deflections as well. So you can see here by moving my cursor throughout the beam, I'm able to view those deflections as well. I can also move through frames. So you can see here as well, I have the selection of moving through different frames. As such, and as you can see here, all the different errors are available to me. Now, let's have a look. I think that was what I wanted to basically go through and look at. Let's see if we can. Okay, so let me. The last thing was, of course, the being able to view, being able to consult the values and also the maximum values of my moment and force diagrams as well that I'm able to view here. So that's a little bit about our workflow here. Now I know this was we ran into a few problems here, but basically what I wanted to demonstrate here was the level of freedom we have when we're looking at editing our columns and beams. So again, this is quite a vast program, quite a large program, but also quite a powerful one in terms of looking at columns and beam definitions as well.